What's up guys, Bionic here and welcome back to the channel. We have some more Summoner's Glory today. In the last couple of videos we covered obviously the basics of the game. We went over all the menus, how they work, what they do. But today in this advanced guide, I want to go over a couple more things with you guys, because have you figured out how to properly use the battle assistant? Are you using your vigor as much as you can? How about all the daily quests? And the raid quests, the warrants, are you using those? How about the Anabasis? Are you doing your tasks? The guild quests, the arena battles, and what about your phantoms, your runes? You probably don't know how all of this works, and I'm gonna tie it all together for you guys in this video. Before we get started, let me quickly remind you guys that you can enter my promo code BGE at the character creation to get free in-game loot. Also, I do want to give a huge shout out to Discord user Clash Blades for helping me understand a lot of these little things that I am going to teach you today. The first topic to cover today is the battle assistant and how to use it. For the time being, apparently the Element Lord is probably the best thing you can work on. You always want to have this battle assistant running in the background, especially overnight and perhaps during the day. You can set up to 80 battles, which is 400 vigor, so feel free to load up before you launch this. Also, the Element Lord is basically the one that's going to give you the material for evolving your phantoms, and that seems to be the hardest grind right now. The Phantom Abode, however, is sort of like the campaign in Raid Shadow Legends, where you want to progress this as you're doing some of your quests, but like it isn't exactly the priority to farm these, we'll say, accessible phantoms. The Element Lord really seems to be the best for the time being. If you have any extra vigor left, however, what you can do is go into the activity button at the bottom here, and you can actually manually run the Element Lord of your choosing, or for example the Phantom Abode if you're trying to progress this section. As for the other two options, the Phantasmagoria and the Goblin Trove, I haven't really felt the need to do those for the time being, but this one would basically be your boost stones to increase the gear or improve the gear on your main character, while the Goblin Trove would basically give you gold, but that is something I have plenty of. The next thing I strongly want to suggest you guys do every day is to go into the bonuses button right here and go to the tea room. This is free vigor twice a day if you log in at the right time. This is easy to miss, but do compare the actual time with the UTC time of the server and try to remember when that aligns with your local time. Also, you do want to access the shop every day before server reset to get almost a free gold summoning book, which is basically for 1 gem, or the gift right here, which has a free daily super value pack, so do not miss those. Two other things you should remember to check every day is the black market. In fact, this one you could check multiple times a day. It refreshes for free every hour. In here is some of the best runes in the game. However, the problem is that you do not exactly know what you are getting. So it's a little bit of a gamble, but it's definitely worth it to spend some of your gold on, because there's not a lot to spend gold on right now, at least not for me. The second thing to use is the Trove. This is sort of like a mini game. It is all random, but every once in a while you can have some pretty solid things show up in here, such as, let's say, this Scarlet Saber. Your first attempt will cost 50 gems, and you will randomly get one of the items on there. The second attempt will also cost 50 gems, and then it's going to start increasing to a point where if you want to get everything on here, you're looking at a final price of about 1,000 gems. So this can get very expensive very fast. I would suggest you be careful. Up next is another function of the game that is easy to miss, and that is sending and receiving vigor, which you can do by accessing the little chat menu at the bottom, going into the vigor tab, sending the vigor 20 times per day, and then clicking the Get It Now button to get yours. Also, I will quickly point out that if you're wondering how to give fresh flowers to your friends as part of the mastery test, you can do it from here by simply clicking on the profile of one of your friends, going into the Give Gift button, and then giving them some flowers. And while we're on the topic of giving and sharing, also do not forget to do your daily sharing. This is accessed by the bonus button, and then you scroll down to the daily sharing. I also covered that in the previous video, but sharing it right here will give you 100 gems every day. Alright, and now that we've covered all the freebies that you can get on a daily basis, let's move on to your daily activities. Things you want to do every day because this will help you for overall progression. Let's start with obviously the quests and the meeting button that we see right here. By clicking on this, it will open up the quest menu. This is your story quest. This is to advance the main story, which by the way will give you a lot of experience for your character, your phantoms, but also a lot of gear used to level up. After that, you have the bonus quests, which are very similar, but these usually only unlock after a certain level, and they can also be relatively hard like the story quest, so you may every once in a while have to take a break from these and work on, let's say instead, the raid quests. These are a little bit easier, or at least they go up in difficulty as you move up the zones, but they are in general pretty easy to do. Then you have the warrants, which you do not see here by default, but to access the warrants, you actually go in the activity button at the bottom right, and you go into the King's Warrant. This will bring you to the quest giver, which is this NPC right here. You will select warrant, and then you can work on all 15 of these every day. I strongly suggest you do as many as you can because they do provide some pretty good resources overall. I will also point out that some of them are gather quests, hunt quests, and some of them are actually instance quests, and these usually require you to spend a certain amount of vigor to access it, as the other ones do not require any vigor. So in fact, these are free to do every day aside from your battle assistant and your actual vigor that you would use manually. So again, definitely take advantage of these King's Warrant. Then there are two other types of quests I believe that you can do on a daily basis. For example, if you click on the map and you actually go to an NPC with a green exclamation mark, this would count as another sort of a daily quest. It does not seem to be tied to the other ones, but I've noticed that these are sometimes a little bit harder and they seem to be tailored to a specific aspect of the game. For instance, farming more forging material, and so on. The other one that you want to obviously keep track of is the ones that you see within the guide. This is the daily quest, which is sort of like little milestones or certain achievements you want to do on a daily basis to progress this and get these rewards up here, such as more vigor potions and more diamonds. Finally, there is one more sort of quest, which I believe is the guild quest. Also a little bit easy to miss, but this one is accessed by going into the guild section up here and then going into the quest tab and doing your personal quest, which is basically killing the goblin manager. Now you can do this 3 times a day, but you can keep killing this goblin manager to keep getting some guild experience and I believe some guild coins. This is very easy to miss, but this seems to be the only way to gather guild experience to eventually summon the guild boss. Next on the list of daily activities is the Anabasis, which can somewhat be viewed as tasks. This is a little event where you're going to send certain phantoms on for a certain amount of time. For instance, this one right here, which was 2 hours, this will be completed in real time. What you have to do for this is to set up a certain team with the recommended phantoms that we see right here. For example, a double S Terra, which I do have, but then I know I do not have this double S Secret Dancer. Then I would look for the other ones, and here's the neat part about this is that you do not necessarily need to have the exact team composition. For instance, I have like 25% success rate right now. If I select a S version of this phantom right here, I then go up to 50%, but I can also add 2 more copies of this same one to reach my 100% success rate. Then I would simply click accept and I would come back in 2 hours to claim my rewards. Another thing you want to do every day is within this activity button at the bottom right is to go to the arena tab and go do your arena battles. Much like Raid Shadow Legends, you get 1 token every hour. That means that the more efficient you are at managing your tokens, the more battles you can do every day. This is also pretty straightforward, much like Raid Shadow Legends, where you're going to have a list of opponents and you can select which one you want to fight. You can also view your opponent, such as the gear they are wearing and the formation or the phantoms they are using. Finally, there is one more thing I know of right now you should do on a daily basis, or at least you should check every day to see if you can advance, and that is your mastery test. This will guide you into doing some general activities in the game, but every time you complete this, you get a massive boost to your stats. Therefore, if you want to be stronger, if you want to increase the amount of stars you have above your character, this is the place to do it. Speaking of power, the last two things I want to cover are your phantoms and your character, starting with the phantoms, and this has to do with evolving them or ranking them up to other tiers and then using certain runes. This will not be an in-depth guide as to which runes are the best, but like I will quickly say that obviously you can upgrade your phantom from this section right here, as well as get your skill ups, but when you want to rank them up to a different tier, you have to go to the evolution button, and then you have to use those resources you've gotten from the element lord that I talked about in the beginning with the battle assistant. But you also need other tier 2 phantoms of that element, or in certain cases any element. So do pay attention to exactly what you need from this. But at first, perhaps some of you thought that you only needed always tier 1 or not even tier 0 phantoms to rank up the ones you currently have. It turns out you actually need the same tier. So that is going to be very tedious, but much like Raid Shadow Legends, you can kind of see this as the food system. Next up is obviously the runes. Do pay attention to this. All the runes can come with a certain main stat, but you do also want to match them up to have certain set effects. I will do a dedicated video on this a little later. And finally, much like your phantoms, your main character can also be powered up quite substantially. For example, using different gear sets or using different weapons, which is something you really want to pay attention to. Let's say this Ice Dragon Saber right now, which is giving me 420 speed, also gives me a certain set of abilities. If I, let's say, compare it to an axe here, which will give me less speed, but also different abilities. Let's, for example, take then this magic weapon here. This will turn my character into basically a healer. Then there's also the different sets you want to pay attention to. For example, this gold helmet, which is part of the Triumph set, or let's say this dragon helmet, which is part of the dragon set. So you ideally want to create complete sets on your character, but you might also want to hang on to different weapon types in case you need to switch it up a bit for a certain, let's say, story quest or bonus quest. So there you have it, guys, a quick recap of everything I've been able to figure out so far. Obviously, there are probably a lot of things that I've missed. There are probably a lot of things that I'll figure out down the road, but keep tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and on top of that, I will most likely have a giveaway for you guys, not to mention a pretty massive summoning session to do within the next day or two. So if you guys are around for this, I'm more than happy to share the epic summoning books with you guys so that you can get some gold books. All that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later.